Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. Tenora here with Oxford Street Montessori, and Will is joining me today to make this video. We're going to see how it goes, making a video with a 3-month-old. Okay, so today's video is all about the do's and don'ts of getting your toddler dressed. So actually, I like to think about this more like assisting your toddler in independent dressing, because ultimately our goal is to help them become independent in the whole dressing process. This video would be really good for parents who are interested in the Montessori approach to getting dressed, and of course this video is definitely for those parents whose children are enrolled here at Oxford Street. Okay, let's dive right in to the do's and the don'ts. We're going to start with the do's. I have 5 things that you definitely should do, and then 5 things that I wouldn't do, that I would definitely avoid. Okay, so let's start. Number one is to give your child access. So what I mean by this is that you want to give your child access to their wardrobe and to the different things that they are using to get dressed and undressed. You could build a little toddler wardrobe in their closet. You could have a low shelf and put baskets out, or you could put a rod low and hang hangers and hang their clothes on hangers. That's a little more challenging. Typically, even 3 and 4-year-olds really struggle with, and some 5-year-olds really struggle with hangers. Another part of this is that you want to give your child access to outdoor gear. So hang their jackets low, put their shoes out, 1 or 2 pairs out for them to pick from, so that they can put those things on themselves. This is going to communicate to them that you trust them, that you think they're capable of picking out their clothes and putting their clothes on themselves, or at least with less and less help. Number 2, I want you to think about the type of clothing that you are picking out for your children to wear on a daily basis. We're talking about play clothes or active wear here. Think about the fact that toddlers are learning with ease how to use their body. So right now you really want to support that by giving them clothes that are easy to move in. Leggings, sweatpants, shorts, like cotton shorts, t-shirts, tank tops, things like that are really easy for them to navigate putting on and taking off by themselves or with minimal help. Number 3, buy your children's clothes according to the fit, not according to the label size. So for example, this romper that Willow is wearing is for a 9-month-old baby. It's labeled as 9 months. And look, it fits her. Like, it fits her whole torso. It's maybe a little loose, but I think that that's how rompers are supposed to be worn. I tend to like to put children in clothing that is slightly oversized. So wearing something that's super tight is going to restrict their movement somewhat. And then also, as they begin to, are given more freedom to learn how to get dressed and undressed on their own, it's going to be a lot easier if the clothes they are wearing are a little looser. Number 4, and this is a very Montessori thing to do, is I want you to involve your children in the dressing and undressing process. So this means that you're going to involve them in picking out their clothes, involve them in putting their clothes on, give them an opportunity to try these things out themselves. Let them really discover when they need to ask for help. Try as much as you can to be hands off. And of course, a 1-year-old is going to need a lot more help than like a 17-month-old, than a 20-month-old and 24 months, and on and on and on. You want to kind of layer on the the skills so that you can be less and less hands-on with your child. Another thing to think about is involving your children in the in the laundry process and the laundering process, because that's a whole nother side of getting dressed that we don't really talk about much. Toddlers are very interested in laundry and they want to help. You might want to consider getting a laundry basket that's just for them. That would be really fun. Something that they can carry around themselves, something that they can notice when it's full. So think about those things and how you can involve your child. Think about things that you're doing for your child that perhaps your child could be doing themselves. Number 5, the last do that I have for you today is that I want you to limit the clothing options they have available. These days it's really easy to kind of like accumulate all things, right? Yeah, you think so too, right? It's easy to accumulate, and it's particularly easy to accumulate clothes. Clothing is something I noticed after having my own child, that people love giving gifts of clothing to children. But the reality is that children, they don't really need a whole lot of clothes. Not as many as they have, and they don't usually want to wear the amount of clothes, just like we only wear like 20% of our actual closet actually gets worn on a daily basis. Children are the same. When they have fewer options to choose from, they're going to be far more capable of making decisions. So, for instance, a toddler, if you were to hold up 2 shirts, they could choose between 2 shirts. If you said, like, oh, would you like to wear the orange shirt or the rainbow shirt today? Which one? They're going to be far more successful in picking out their clothes when you involve them in that way and limit their options than if you were to say, you know, you have their wardrobe out, you have their 25 shirts or whatever available to them, and their pants and their skirts and their shorts and their socks and their underwear, and you think about how much and how overwhelming a wardrobe could be, and you say, okay, now go pick out your clothes for the day. Whew, they're probably go in their closet and they're just like, I don't even know, like I can't even make a decision. We're overwhelming them if we are expecting them to pick out their clothing when they have access to their entire full wardrobe. Right now it's summer here in Indiana, and so I would pack away all the warm weather clothing. I mean, you could keep like 1 or 2 things for if it's chilly or if the air conditioning is cold, and then switch them out when it starts to cool down. So that's what I would recommend. Okay, so to review, number 1 is to give access. Number 2 is to think about the type of clothing. So you want to get your child activewear or play clothes to wear on a daily basis. Number 3 would be to buy according to the fit that your child has of the clothing and not the label on the clothing. You'll get better and better at this as your child gets older. Number 4 is to involve your child in the process, in the whole dressing and undressing process, including laundering. And number 5 is to limit options and maybe even implement a seasonal bin that you can store away. Now, let's dive into the don'ts. So these are things that I would say you want to avoid. Number 1 is please don't dress your child, your toddler, in clothing that uses fasteners. And I'm not really talking about jackets here. Obviously, a jacket needs to be fastened in the front. I'm more talking about shoes with laces, buttons. Try to find shoes that your child can slip on or off themselves, and a zipper. A zipper would be fine for a pair of shoes. Velcro is even better, or just slip-ons. And then fasteners on clothing, like this, for example. Little girls' clothing often has these buttons along the back of their shirts or dresses or whatever. I would say if they can't get their head through that hole without undoing those buttons, that's not a shirt you want to dress your child in on the daily basis. You want to save those clothes for special occasions. Little boys' shirts, like polo shirts, have buttons up the front. If your child has a bunch of clothes like that, keep them unbuttoned. They have a really tough time getting their head through those holes if they have shirts that the buttons go up all the way. So test it out on your children. Another place that buttons and zippers come into place, fasteners that are totally impractical for toddlers' clothing, are pants. This is more common with little boys because I guess it's less common for little boys to wear leggings. But you know what? I challenge you to be that parent that says, screw gender norms. We are gonna dress our little boy in what is most practical. Give them some leggings to wear because it's so much easier for them. Or sweatpants. Sweatpants is great for children, toddlers to put on and off. Let's reduce the steps for them. So get rid of those fasteners, save them for when your child is fully bathroom independent, and then you can start layering on clothing that has that extra step, like a zipper or a button or a snap. Number 2, avoid constrictive materials. You want to avoid jean. You want to avoid canvasy, like khakis. You want to avoid corduroy, any sort of fitted outfit, like a lot of little girls have like fitted dresses. The material is not forgiving. It is very challenging for toddlers to pull up their pants and pull them down. So it's even more challenging if the materials they have don't have any give. So you want to really avoid clothing that doesn't have stretch or give to them. I'm sure there are other materials, like, do they make children's clothes out of leather? They probably do. That's ridiculous. Number 3, don't give your child access to clothing that has excess material. This one is pretty much just for little girls and little boys who like to wear dresses, because really I'm talking about dresses and skirts here. Toddlers, it's impractical for them to be wearing dresses. They're learning how to go to the bathroom. If you're wearing a dress, yeah, Willow knows too. If you're wearing a dress, you have to pull it all the way up so that the material doesn't fall into the toilet. And that is a really challenging thing to do when you're learning how to go to the bathroom, because you're thinking about so many different things as a toddler. Now, as an adult, going to the bathroom is second nature, so we don't even think about it. But a toddler really has to consider, they have to think about, are they feeling the pee sensation? Okay, when I feel that, what do I have to do? Okay, now that I'm in the bathroom, what do I have to do next? Oh my gosh. And then they have to go through that whole process so many times throughout the day. Let's set them up for success and avoid buying clothing with excess material. Will has a lot to say on this one. Number 4, you want to avoid fancy clothing. First of all, they're not really necessary. Children don't care about dressing up fancy typically until they're in preschool or older. So now I'm not saying that you shouldn't have fancy clothes for your child to wear. I definitely love to dress up, and I definitely have 2 outfits that I've saved for Willow that are kind of more fancy, If you though are like wanting to take fancy pictures, or you want them to look nice for the holidays or maybe on their birthday or something like that, save those clothes. Put them in your closet, put them somewhere high up, put them in a box somewhere, and just keep them out of the way so that your child doesn't choose to wear them in their new wardrobe that you've set up, because you remember tip number 1 was to give your child access to the wardrobe. Number 5, I want you to stop dressing your child for them. And this is easier said than done. And it's going to take about 3 years, 2 to 3 years, to really completely be done doing this, because it's not like you're just gonna stop helping them get dressed day 1. What you're gonna do is you're gonna stop fully dressing them from head to toe. Basically, only give as much help as is needed. Once your child is able to stand on their own, they can start to participate in the dressing and undressing. Oh, I poked her. She's fine. In the dressing and undressing process. At first, they're going to need a lot of help, and then slowly, as you kind of layer on their skills, they are going to need less and less help. So please stop dressing your child for them. And then the second part of this is that I want you to stop picking out your children. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, I want you to stop picking out your children's clothing for them. I don't even only pick out Willow's clothing for her. I hold 2 outfits out and I let her choose what she wants to wear. She'll give me a little signal. She'll give me a little nod or a smile. That's really a great first step in the whole dressing process. And then you can kind of layer on the skills and then eventually they'll be dressing, picking out their own clothes and dressing themselves. Okay, so to review, you don't want to buy clothes with fasteners. Don't buy clothes that are restrictive. Don't buy clothes with excess material. Save all those things, right? Because tip number 4 is to avoid dressing, avoid giving access to fancy clothes. And then number 5 is to stop picking out your children's clothing for them and stop dressing your child for them. Layer on those skills, right? Because ultimately, independent children are happy children. Oh, and I think that this little happy child is hungry and tired. So we are gonna move on with our day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed Willow's additions. She knows a lot about this. And she has a lot to say, don't you, Willow? Yeah. Okay, bye.